The ROG Ally is the newest competitor to the Steam Deck and perhaps even the Nintendo Switch. But how well does it perform? Is it really that much more powerful compared to the Steam Deck? The best way to find out is to test it out with the latest games. And that's what I'm going to do today. See how the ROG Ally runs some of the latest AAA titles compared to the Steam Deck. Keep in mind the ROG Ally costs $700 US, whereas the Steam Deck is now on sale for only about $360 and even includes a carrying case. Is the ROG Ally worth almost double the price of the base Steam Deck? For all these tests, I matched the graphic settings on both consoles. The rendering resolution was also set to match the 800p screen of the Steam Deck. The ROG Ally and the Steam Deck are running at the maximum wattage, maximum performance. Let's start things off with Redfall. Here the graphics are on medium preset with FSR2 set to quality. Here the Steam Deck was running between 30 to 40 FPS when you're roaming around with not much action. When things do get intense though, the frame rate does drop into the high 20s, averaging about 28 FPS. The ROG Ally is actually worse when it comes to running Redfall. It's a bit of a surprise because the ROG Ally is more powerful. I also had the rendering resolution at 720p and not even the 800p like the Steam Deck. Just roaming around town showed frame rates well below 30 FPS. I saw performance issues and dips below 15 FPS. When things did get intense, the console averaged frame rates of about 22 FPS. Redfall isn't the greatest game, but if it's all you want to play, then the Steam Deck does it better. The next game is Spider-Man Miles Morales, where things do get better for the more expensive, more powerful ROG Ally. The settings here are graphics on the medium preset. Steam Deck ran Spider-Man at an average of 33 FPS, whereas the ROG Ally's was averaging about 44 FPS. So the ROG Ally is really starting to flex its muscles on Spider-Man. Even when I turn the ROG Ally resolution to 1080p, it can still hold Spider-Man slightly above 30 FPS. Hogwarts Legacy is up next, and I tested it with the graphics on the low preset. AMD FSR2 is set to ultra performance. The Steam Deck here delivered frame rates in the 40s, averaging about 47 FPS. The ROG Ally at these settings gets fairly close to 60 FPS, averaging 53 FPS when you're just roaming around. But things can get really unstable really fast when the action gets started. Here you can see FPS dips into the 30s during this fight. So overall, paying double the price doesn't necessarily mean a more magical experience in Hogwarts. Star Wars Jedi Survivor is up next, and it's perhaps the one game where I saw the biggest performance advantage from the ROG Ally. The graphics here are on the medium preset with FSR2 unbalanced. On the Steam Deck, the game ran horribly. Here I got an average frame rate of 21 FPS and the game crashed all the time. I pretty much declared it unplayable on the Steam Deck. On the ROG Ally, things seem to be much better. Star Wars is a lot more stable. Frame rates average around 40 FPS during certain areas, while they can dip into the low to mid 30s in others. Overall, it's a much better experience on the ROG Ally and is actually playable compared to how things were on the Steam Deck. Returnal is up next, and here every single graphics setting is on the lowest. I even turned off bloom effects. Steam Deck delivers close to 30 FPS in this case. Most of the time it's going to get you a locked 30. There are other times where it dips into the mid 20s, averaging about 25 FPS. Overall though, the game's still playable on Steam Deck at these low graphic settings. The ROG Ally at the same settings delivers slightly better performance. Frame rate averages about 34 FPS, so an improvement over the Steam Deck. There's even times when the frame rate goes into the 40s. Next up is The Last of Us Part 1, a game that was a bit of a mess during the launch window. It has been cleaned up now though, and at the lowest graphical preset runs at about 40 FPS on the Steam Deck. The frame rates drop to about the mid 30s in certain areas, but overall the Steam Deck is fairly stable. The ROG Ally can run the game slightly better. During the indoor areas like this one, the game can actually run a solid 60 FPS. Even during the more demanding outdoor areas, the game stays well above 45 FPS, averaging almost close to 50 FPS. So this is one game where the ROG Ally shines and the more powerful hardware really shows. The last game I'm gonna look at is Sifu. Sifu isn't that demanding. In fact, I had it set to the maximum graphics and the Steam Deck could deliver a solid 60 FPS experience. There were some minor dips, but overall it was an easy game for the Steam Deck to run. ROG Ally does have a 120Hz 1080p screen, which means you can actually run the game at a higher resolution and frame rates into the 80s. This is all, of course, at the maximum graphic settings. So there you have it. This is how the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally compare when it comes to running some of the most popular games. Now, I for one think the Steam Deck is a bargain at about half the price of the ROG Ally. Steam Deck is more stable and I think it's overall a better deal. I just can't justify paying almost double the price for the marginal performance advantage you're gonna get with the ROG Ally. And once again, my biggest issue with actually both of the consoles, but more so on the ROG Ally, is the battery life. For a portable console like the Nintendo Switch, you need good battery life. With the ROG Ally, the battery life is just horrendous. With most of the games I looked at today, you're barely gonna get about half an hour to 45 minutes.